Welcome back. We started with an idea, and using this idea, we started learning about object-oriented programming and how we can use the programming paradigm to better our code, to make it more organized. And when it comes to OOP, inadvertently, you just learned the 4 pillars of object-oriented programming. The first one was encapsulation. Before OOP, we have procedural programming. And unlike procedural programming, where we just have functions modifying data with no real structure, OOP puts things in an object, in a container, and organizes things into units that model real-world applications. This is encapsulation. We wrap code into boxes that are related to one another so that these boxes can just interact with each other using the methods and properties that we make available. This makes code easier to maintain and more reusable, right? We have all these nice little class packages that we can just use whenever we want. The next pillar is abstraction. What is abstraction? Abstraction means just hiding the complexity from the user. That is, creating simpler interfaces, such as, hey, I'll take care of the class. All you do is instantiate a class, and there you go, poof, you have an elf with all the properties and methods already in for you. And the idea of abstraction says, hey, here are the methods and properties that you can use. Don't worry about everything else. I'll do all the calculations behind the scenes. This reduces complexity because we can just see the methods and understand what this class can do. Now, the idea of abstraction also helps when we have private variables and private methods, something that JavaScript is working towards. The next one is a big one. It's inheritance. And we saw this already, right? By inheriting from other classes, we avoid having to rewrite the same code. And we also save memory space by having shared methods. Inheritance is a very, very important and powerful concept. And it's definitely my favorite part of OOP. And then finally, this is a big one, and a big word at that. It's polymorphism. What does that mean? Well, the word itself means many forms. Polymorphism. Now, the definition of polymorphism is actually heavily debated. There's many interpretations of what it means. But the idea is the ability to call the same method on different objects and each object responding in a different way. That is polymorphism. For example, in my elf and ogre class, let's say that they each have different ways of attacking. For example, the elf attacks with, let's call this cry, and it's going to return attack with this dot cry. And then let's say that the ogre has attack, but the ogre doesn't really accept a parameter. Instead, it's just going to return R, like a part. If I now go down, and let's change this up, and let's do Dolby attack, and we'll give it, the cry will be wee. If I run this, I get undefined. Let's see where we made the mistake, because I did this dot cry, but this isn't part or a property of the class. Instead, it's just a parameter. So we don't need the this keyword. If I click run, attack with wee. And with Shrek, if I do Shrek dot attack without a parameter, I get R. And this is a very basic explanation of what polymorphism means, but the idea of ability to appear in many forms. That is, we're simply doing method overriding like this, where the same method acts differently for each type of class. Or we can do method overloading, which is adding extra features or extra parameters to a method to add on to what that method can do. And the idea with polymorphism in object-oriented programming is that it has the ability to process objects differently depending on their data type or class. Now, because JavaScript is a dynamically typed language, it actually limits the amount of polymorphism that we can have. But the idea is still the same, the ability to redefine methods for derived classes and allowing us to reuse some of the functionality, but also customize methods to their own objects and classes. And polymorphism is useful because we don't have to necessarily copy and paste code over and over. We can reuse some of the functionality from a superclass to adapt to our own specific needs. And these are the 4 pillars of object-oriented programming. And behind the scenes, although these are big words, we've been using them all along. Because with these 4 things in mind, we accomplished the goal that we set out to do at the beginning of this section. We created code that is clear and understandable. We created code that is easy to extend. We definitely saw that with the extend keyword. It's easy to maintain because, well, we don't have to worry about those prototype chains. We don't have to keep the prototype property, which got really confusing. We just used simple classes, contained everything into its own parts. Everything inherits from a superclass. If we have to make a modification on a method, we can just modify it in one location. We also learn how memory efficient it is, especially in JavaScript, where objects use references instead of cloning and copying each other. And then finally, we're able to make our code dry. We didn't keep repeating ourselves and using the same method over and over for each object. Instead, we had one place where we could create functionality. And if you can see that, congratulations. You've just learned a programming paradigm, a way for you now to think about code in a critical, intelligent way, to structure your code. Instead of just writing code one by one, line by line, you now have a baseline to start thinking about the code. How should you organize it? How should different things speak to one another in order to create programs that have all these qualities in mind? I'll see you in the next one.